Hey there, I'm Louie, and in this video I'll be teaching you how to crochet helmets and hoodies for your amigurumi characters. We're going to start with how to make the base version of this pattern, which we can build off of in some form or another to create the other variations of this helmet. Alright, so for this video we're going to be using all worsted weight yarn in brown, and because I'm using worsted weight yarn, I'm using a size G 4mm crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle to sew in the ends. Okay, so you want to start with either the chain 2 method or the magic loop method. I'll be using the magic loop method because I find it a little bit easier. And we're just going to pull through and create a chain right there. Pull it off our finger now. And for round 1 of the base helmet pattern, we'll be working 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook or into the magic loop. We're obviously doing the magic loop. So we're just going to make 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is 6. Okay, now we can pull this a little tighter. All right. For round 2, we're going to be increasing in each stitch around. So that means for this pattern, we're not going to be turning at all for the entire pattern. We're just going to be working in a spiral, in a circle. So we're just going to go into the first single crochet that we made right here. And we're going to make an increase into that stitch by doing 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And we're going to do an increase into each stitch around. So that's going to be 6 increases total. This is going to bring you up from 6 stitches around to 12 stitches. So you should have 12 stitches by the end of round 2 here. And feel free to actually go a little bit loose with your crochet. I mean, don't go like crazy loose, but you don't have to crochet this very tightly. In fact, by crocheting it too tightly, it won't fit fully on your character's head, or it might just be kind of, tight. So just try to crochet a little bit loosely so you have some wiggle room if you made it a little bit too tight. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 2. Now before we begin round 3, we're going to cut this end. Now, if you want, you can leave this end a little long, and you can pull it through the hole and create a little knot on it, which is how I make this little fun top part of this hat. This is my orc named Bobo. Okay, so we're on round 3 now. For round 3, we're going to single crochet 1 into the first stitch, and then we'll be doing an increase into the next stitch. Okay. And we're going to repeat that 6 times around. So that's 1 single crochet and then 1 increase 6 times in a row. So let's do our second repeat here. So there's a single crochet, and then here's our increase. We'll be at 6 stitches. And this is going to bring you up from 12 stitches around to 18 stitches around. So by the end of round 3, you should have 18 stitches in a circle. The base version of this pattern is actually pretty simple. I think I haven't changed it at all since I first made it, but I have added a lot of different variations. And I'll be showing you how you can make this probably for other amigurumi if you want. Basically, we're going to be making it, you can make it without ear holes to make it for other amigurumi, which I'll show you in just a second. For round 2 here, we're on round 4. For round 4 here, we're going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch around. So that's just going to be 18 stitches around, and you're just going to keep doing a single crochet until we get all the way around to the beginning. So we'll just keep going. Yeah, but like I was saying, to make this for other amigurumi, I think I'm going to probably end up creating different variations of this pattern to fit other characters like ogres and hobgoblins. But if you want to make this for other amigurumi, we're just going to have to make it without ear holes, and we'll have to do single crochets instead, which I'll explain in just a second once I finish round 4 here. Okay. And here's our last stitch in round 4. All right. That's going to be the end of round 4. For round 5, we'll be making the ear holes, and this will actually be the last round in this pattern. If you're making this for other amigurumi, instead of doing ear holes, simply make, I would say, either a half double crochet or a single crochet into the stitch that we're going to be working into. So for an ear hole, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to skip the next stitch. Okay, so we're going to skip this stitch right here, and we're going to start working into that stitch, the next one over. And we're going to slip stitch into the next one. So we're going to skip that one and slip stitch into this one. And this is what I mean. Instead of doing an ear hole here, if your character doesn't have ears, for example, I would do just either a half double crochet or a single crochet into that stitch. Okay, so there's a slip stitch. We're going to do 8 slip stitches in a row. So there's our first one. So 1, 2, and make sure these slip stitches are pretty soft. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so it's pretty simple, just 8 slip stitches all the way across. And now we're going to make another ear hole. So to do that, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to skip the next stitch, which is right there, and we're going to single crochet into the next one over. So skip this one, single crochet into that stitch. Okay, and we're actually going to single crochet 6 times in a row. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is 6. And then in this next stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch. So yarn over and pull that all the way through. And now we can cut the yarn. You want to leave it really not that long, about that. That's probably good. We're just going to pull it all the way through, and we're going to create a hidden end here. So we want to thread this end on our needle. Okay. We're going to go into the back of the next stitch right here. Okay, so go in through the back of it just like so. Okay, and then go back through where this stitch is coming out, where this thread is coming out right there. Going to go back straight through the center of that stitch, and then go hide it into a few stitches here. So we're just going to go into the backs of, like, let's say like 4 stitches like that. Okay, pull this a little bit tighter now. And you don't want to pull this too tight. We can go ahead and pull this through. And the idea here was to recreate a single crochet so you can't really tell where it is, just like so. And like I said, don't pull this too tight. We go ahead and cut the end pretty close. Okay, and that's how to make the base version of this pattern. So let's grab a little troll here. And let's put it on his head. Go around both these ears. Pull the ears through, and there we go. Now he's got a little helmet, so he's protected just in case. Oh, it's actually backwards. You can see where the front is because it's the slip stitches that we worked on. That's the front of it. So let's try this again. There we go. And then here's the other ear. And boom. There we go. Now it's right. There we go. Now he's got a little helmet just in case he gets into battle. Okay, so next up, I'm going to be showing you how to make a little spike in the center here. So for the spike, we have a hat that's basically done. We're on round 5 of the hat now. We're going to make the ear hole. So again, that's chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll skip the next stitch and we'll slip stitch into the stitch afterwards. Okay. We're going to slip stitch 1 right there. Skip 1 stitch, slip stitch 1. All right. And now we're going to slip stitch 2 more. So that's 1. Here's our second, 2, and 3. So 3 slip stitches total. And then we're going to do a single crochet in the next. And then we're going to do a stitch called the mini peacock. So for that, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to skip the first chain, and into the back loop of the second chain right here, we're going to get our crochet hook into that one, right like that. And we're going to slip stitch into that stitch. There we go. And then we'll do another single crochet. So 1 single crochet, then another single crochet. And let's go through that process again. We made our ear hole. We did 3 slip stitches, single crochet, mini peacock, single crochet, and then we'll do 3 more slip stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do our second ear hole. So for that, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll skip the next stitch, and into the stitch after that, we're going to start our single crochet. So we single crochet 1, and the rest of this is just exactly the same. We're just going to single crochet 6 times. So there's our first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is 6. And then we can slip stitch into the next one right here. Okay, we're just going to cut loose and then hide the end. Okay, so now we have a little spike in the center of our helmet. Now let me show you how to make it have hair like this. So if you've gone through customizing your Goblinoid, you'll probably already have this pattern, but it's essentially making adding hair is pretty easy. You just need some yarn, so I'm going to use this maroon yarn here, and you just need a long strand like so. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it so that it's into smaller pieces. Let's do one more. Let's do one more, yeah. Okay, so now I have a lot of small pieces. I just need one of these. Now you can either thread this onto a needle like so. Well, let's do that. So you're going to thread just the looped end on a needle. And we're going to go to where we want this this hair. So let's start right in the center. And we're going to go towards the back and pull it through just so that loop is pulled through. Be careful so that was close. See, those two ends we don't want all the way through. And we're going to pull those two ends through that loop to create a knot. Okay, like so. And boom, there we go. Now he's got a little bit of hair. And if you just keep doing that all the way through, it'll make it pretty easy. Let me show you a little bit easier way to do this. If you have a smaller crochet hook like so, you can do the exact same thing by just going through. And let's go like through right there. Grab our strand of yarn, make it into a loop, grab the loop with the crochet hook, and just pull that through, and then pull these other two ends through the loop. Makes it a little bit easier. You don't even have to thread it onto a needle. All right, so then that's how you're going to make hair for your helmet. Okay, so next up we're going to be doing the eye hole version of this pattern, which is also pretty simple. We're going to start again at round 5 of the helmet. So we've done the first 4 rounds. We're at the part where we're adding our ear holes, and we're going to start by adding an ear hole, which is chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll skip the next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch into the stitch after that. Okay, so we'll just slip stitch 1. Now we need to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we will skip 2 stitches. Okay, 1 and 2. And we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch right here. Okay, and then we'll single crochet again. So that's skip, chain 5, skip 2 stitches, single crochet into the next 2 stitches. You can also do a mini picot in between these 2 single crochets if you want to add a spike on top of the eye holes. And then we'll do another eye hole. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, slip stitch into the third. And then now we're back to our base pattern where we can just make our second ear hole. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip a stitch and do a single crochet into the next stitch right here. And then we can just continue on like our base pattern. We're going to single crochet 6 times total. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll do a slip stitch into the next. And now we can cut it and hide the end, just like how we did on our other helmets. Okay, so I've sewn in the end, and let's add this to our troll here. Put it on its ear hole. Skip these 2 eye holes, of course. Put on the other ear right here. And then there you go. Now you got a helmet. Whoop. with eye holes for your Goblinoid. I find this best fits in Orc, but it also obviously fits Trolls as well. Okay, so next up, let's make the skull helmet. Okay, so next up we're going to be making the skull helmet. And so for the skull helmet, you're going to need different colors than your brown. Normally I do it in white or off-white. I think this is ecru is the name of this color. But because that's kind of hard to see on this white background, we're going to be making it in orange. And then you also need some black yarn for the nostrils. Okay, so our first 4 rounds for the skull helmet are exactly the same, where you're just going to be doing 6 single crochets, then increase up to 12, then increase up to 18, then do a round of single crochets around for 18. So we're on round 5 now. So for round 5, it's going to be basically the same as the way we made the eye holes. We're going to be chaining 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is for our first ear hole. We're going to skip our first stitch and slip stitch into the next. Okay. Now we're going to do 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches. 1, 2. Single crochet into the next 2. 1 and 2. Then we're going to do chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 2 stitches. 1, 2. Slip stitch into the next. And then our next ear hole is going to be chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 1 stitch and single crochet into the next. And now we're going to single crochet 7 times in a row. So that's the difference for the helmet. Here we would single crochet 6 and then do our hidden end. But this time we're going to continue on. So we're going to single crochet 7. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, actually 8. I think we need to single crochet all the way to the end here. Oh, no, we don't. No, we don't. Okay, so we just do single crochet 7. And then we do 1 slip stitch. So 7 single crochets and then 1 slip stitch into this last one right here. So it's a little bit different than the helmet. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 5 for the skull helmet. Now for round 6, we're going to be doing some weird shifty stuff, so stay with me. I'm going to go kind of slow here. We're going to start by, we're going to be working into these chain stitches for the ear holes. We're going to slip stitch into the next 2. So here's our first chain. And just slip stitch 1, and here's our second one. Slip stitch 2. And now we're going to do a single crochet 2 together into this next one, okay? So for that, we're going to go into, we're going to do a single crochet 1 into the next one. So 2 slip stitches, then a single crochet right here. Okay. Now we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. For a single crochet 2 together, we're going to go into the next chain right here. Oops. Right like that. We're going to pull a loop through. Then we're going to go into the next stitch. I'm actually going to, you can work into the slip stitch like this. Okay, so just like into that slip stitch. You can also go into where that slip stitch is connected, right here, and just pull a loop through that instead. Let's do that, because that I think will create it even flatter. So there's our second loop. So first loop is through the chain. Second loop we're going to do through the base, not through the slip stitch right there, even though you can do either way. And now to finish up this slip stitch 2 or single crochet 2 together, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, like so. Okay? Now we're going to do another single crochet 2 together, but now we're working into these weird chains here. So we're going to do work into this first chain of the eye hole. We're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So we're going to pull a loop through, then go into the next loop right here, pull a second loop through, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay? See how you're making like kind of it go around there? All right, so next you want to do a slip stitch. Do 1 slip stitch right here. And now you want to do a mini peacock, like how we did the center of that spiky part of the hat. So for a mini peacock, we're going to chain 2, 1, and 2. We're making a tooth here. We're going to skip the first chain that we made, working into the back loops of the second chain right here. Okay, we're going to slip stitch 1. Just pull it tight. There we go. And that's going to create a little tooth, you see. Okay, so that's our mini peacock. Now we're going to do another slip stitch right here. And now we're going to do a single crochet into the next chain. This is going to be the last chain on the eye hole. And before we finish that single crochet up, we actually want to grab our black yarn because now we're going to have to add our nostrils. So grab your black yarn, place it in between the ends of the loops and the end of your yarn like so. And we're going to pull through with red. Okay, so just single crochet, finish the single crochet by pulling through with red. We're working around this back loop here. Now I'm going to pull the tail over towards where we're working so that way we can hide the tail while we create it, while we create the nose holes. Now into the next 2 stitches right here, these 2 single crochets, we want to single crochet 1 in each of these, but we want to do them so that the top is red or white if you're using white, and the bottom is orange. So to do that, we're going to flip over so that black is on top. I said orange, but I meant black. Black is on top, and we're going to go into the next stitch right here. We're going to yarn over with black and pull through. Then we're going to switch back over to orange. We're going to flip under and yarn over with orange and pull through with orange. We can pull that black one a little tighter now. And then we'll do that again. We're going to flip over so that black is on top. We'll go into the next stitch right here. Yarn over with black and pull through. Switch back over to orange. Yarn over with orange and pull through the 2 stitches to finish your single crochets. Now you're going to create 2 nostrils, see? And we can pull that black one a little tighter. Pull that tail off to the side. Pull this black yarn off to the side. We don't need either of those anymore. We can actually cut this black yarn now. We don't need it. That's all we needed it for, was those little nostril holes. And we'll hide those black ends in again at the end of this part of this pattern. Okay, so now we're back to our main color, in this case orange, but normally it would be white. We're going to single crochet 1. We're working into the chains of the second eye hole. Single crochet 1. Then we'll do a slip stitch into the next right here. There we go. And now we'll do a mini peacock again. So that's chain 2. 1, 2. Pull it tighter. Work into the back loop right there, like so. Yarn over and pull through, and then pull through to make that mini peacock. And then we're going to work another slip stitch into the next stitch on the chain, or next chain, I guess. Oops. Here we go. So again, that was 1 single crochet into the next eye hole, a slip stitch, a mini peacock, another slip stitch. Now we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. We can go into the next loop, yarn over and pull a loop through, and then into the next chain right here. There we go. Yarn over and pull another loop through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook right there, like that. That's a single crochet 2 together. Now we're going to do another single crochet 2 together, and like how we did on this one, I'm going to work over this slip stitch into the same stitch that I worked into. So go into that stitch, yarn over and pull a loop through. Then I'm going to work into the first chain on the second ear hole and pull a secondary loop through. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook to finish that single crochet 2 together up. See how our skull head is going, looking pretty evil. Looks pretty cool. Okay, so now I'm going to continue on these ear holes. We did our 2 single crochet 2 together. Now we want to do a single crochet into the next one. And then we're going to do 3 slip stitches. So we're going to finish up, we're going to do a slip stitch into this ear hole, boom, or chain, slip stitch into the second chain. So that's 2 slip stitches. And then in the third right here, this is going to be a single crochet. We're done with the ear hole. Now in the single crochet, we're going to do our 3rd single crochet or slip stitch. Okay, and that's actually going to be the end of the skull helmet. Now we can cut the yarn. You don't need it very long, obviously. We're just going to pull it through, and we're going to do that hidden end again right here so that you don't see where the end is. So we're just going to thread it on our needle. We're going to go into the back of the next stitch right here, pull through, and then go in through where that end is coming out, right there. Go back into it and hide it into a few stitches on the inside. And I'll go ahead, we can cut the end of this one pretty close. And you might want to go ahead and hide these two ends as well. Maybe not the first end, so that was the first one that we single crocheted around. We can actually just cut that one probably pretty close, like boom, right to the end right there. But this last one we should probably hide in just so it doesn't come loose. So we'll just go ahead and put our needle into a few spots like that. Then thread it onto the needle. I think it's easier to place the needle and then thread it on probably here. And then we'll just pull that through. Okay, and we can cut that end on the inside really close. So it's hidden in there. And there we go. Now we have a skull helmet. Raw. Let's find a good character to put this on. Let's go with here. Let's go with this base guy. Actually, no. Let's go with this guy. Let's take off his helmet, and let's place this new cool skull helmet on him. On the ears. Whoop. It's hard to get that. There we go. One ear in there. There's our second ear. There we go. Oh man, that is looking cool. I should do more red helmets like this. All right, so now he's got a red skull. That looks pretty cool. There we go. There's our skull helmet. Next up, let's make the soldier helmet. Okay, so next up we're making our soldier helmet here. And the beginning is just the same. So we did our first 4 rounds of the base helmet. And actually our 5th round here is very similar. So we're going to start, we did our rounds up to 18 and then did single crochet stitches into round 4 here all the way around. So now in round 5, we're going to start by making our ear hole again. And this is just going to be the exact same as the base helmet where we're slip stitching across. We're going to skip our first, we did 4 chains, skip our first stitch and do a slip stitch into the next. And now you can slip stitch into the next 8 stitches actually. So there's our first, so 1, 2, 3. This is going to be the exact same. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're going to chain 4 again for our second ear hole. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip our next stitch and single crochet into the last one right here. There we go. So skip our stitch, single crochet, and now we can single crochet all the way to the end almost. So we're going to single crochet 7. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to slip stitch into this next one right here to finish up round 5. Okay, so for round 6, we're doing something a little bit different here. We're going to start by slip stitching 4. We're going to work into this ear, the chains from the ear hole. So we're going to slip stitch into each one of those. So that's 1, 2, 3. Make sure it's like a little loose here. And here's our 4th slip stitch. Okay. Now we're going to chain 9. So let's go ahead and chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to skip the all the slip stitches across. So all these slip stitches, and starting into the first chain of the second ear hole here, we're going to slip stitch. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch right into that first one right there. Boom. We're going to slip stitch 6. So there's 1. We're going to keep going into each chain on the second ear hole. 2, 3, 4, and then into these next 2 single crochets. 5. Here's our last one right here, 6. And now this is the one this one's a little bit different. We're actually going to turn. We're going to turn, and we're going to skip the first slip stitch that we made right there. Okay? And into the next slip stitch right here, we're going to go into that slip stitch. You can either go into both loops or you can go into only the top loop, depending on how tightly you slip stitched. We're going to try going into both loops here, just like that. And we're going to do a slip stitch. So we skip the first slip stitch into the second one. We're going to slip stitch 1. We're going to keep going across. Let's try to get into both loops. This gets more and more difficult as we go, though. I always tend to make my slip stitches really tight. So there's 2. We want to do 5 of these. 3, 4. Here's our 5th right there. I mean, 4th. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, here's going to be our 5th. This one's giving me trouble though. There we go. 5. Now we're on to the 9 chains that we made in our last round. And we're going to single crochet 2. Oops, make sure you get into all of those chains. I kind of split the yarn there. So there's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. Then we're going to half double crochet 2. So for a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, into the next chain, pull a loop through, and then pull a loop through all 3. There's our first half double crochet. Now another half double crochet into the next chain right here. 1, 2. Okay, so we got 2 single crochets, 2 half double crochets. Now we're going to do a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, not all 3, yarn over a 3rd time, and pull through the last 2 loops right there. Okay, so we did 2 single crochets, 2 half double crochets, a double crochet. Now we're going to work backwards. We're going to do 2 half double crochets, skip, go into the next stitch right here. So we got 1, 2. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets, 3, and here's our 4th, 4. There we go. So we got, again, that's 2 single crochets, 2 half double crochets, a double crochet, 2 half double crochets, 2 single crochets. Now we're back into the next ear hole here, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch 5. Okay, and I'm going to try to work into both of these slip stitches, but again, if you can't get into both of them, just work into the back loops. 1, there we go. 2, 3, oopsies, 4, and 5. And now you can see the finished result right there. Now we can go ahead and cut this yarn and then just pull it through, and we'll hide the end. And then I'll show you how I make, I like to put a little stripe across the top there. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Let me just hide this end in. Okay, so to make the stripe part, you want a little bit extra yarn. So we're going to cut some extra gray yarn here. Thread the end on the needle, And we're basically going to be doing what we do for the scar section of the Goblinoid pattern bundle. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up through, let's say, just one above the top. So actually, let's fold this in half. So fold it perfectly in half like so. Okay? Then we're going to come up through the inside and come up. There's the very center. We want to come up just a little bit to the back of the center. And we kind of just want to embroider a line following up while it's folded in half like this. So we go 1, 2, let's go like up through the center. Yeah, let's just do that. I'm basically just trying to embroider some pieces there. Make sure they're not too tight. Make sure they're kind of loose like that. Well, not like that, like that. 1, 2, come back through the center. Then go down through the next one and out through where you want to come out. Let's go like right there. See how we're making just this little line? You can barely see it. So it's 1, 2, 3. Go back through where you came out. And let's go through. You want to come out through the very front. Okay, so like right there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go and wrap around these ends that we just embroidered on. So we want to go ahead and wrap around. And you can do it a few times actually. Okay, so we're just kind of wrapping around each of these ends just a couple times just to add some thickness to this stripe. You can also try slip stitching up this with a chain or sewing a chain on. That would also work. Probably sewing a chain on would probably even work even better. Okay. I just think this is like easiest, you know, just the easiest way. Go around this last one a couple times. And then we're just going to go through the back here. And we can go ahead and double knot these two ends on the inside, and you can kind of see how that is going to create just a little line. You can go over them again. You can go like around the loops again to really solidify that. But I think that's just enough so that you get an idea that, you know, it's like a little extra oomph on the top there. Yeah. So let's go ahead. We can just double knot these two on the inside. Try not to pull it too tight. And we can cut these two ends on the inside. There we go. And now we got a soldier helmet for our characters. All right. Next up, let's show you how to make horns. So we can add them to pretty much any of these helmets we can add horns to. All right. So now we're going to be making some horns so we can add them to pretty much any of these helmets. So for horns, of course, we want to either use white or ecru is the technical term for this yarn. So let's go ahead and use our white. You want to use a magic loop for this probably. You can use the chain too, but I find it way easier for these horns if you use the magic loop. There we go. And we're just going to be single crocheting 3 times into the magic loop. So just 3 single crochets. So it's 1. And make sure these are, I don't know, not like super loose, but definitely not too tight. You want to be very careful to do this. You don't want these too tight. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to pull this magic loop a little bit tighter. There we go. Okay. All right. Now this is worked in the round like the rest of our parts. We want to open this loop up just a bunch. And we want to skip the first, go back into the first single crochet that we made. And you actually want to work, well, I guess we can work into both loops. But sometimes I like working into just the back loop, but you can work into both loops. So let's do that. Let's go into both of these loops here. And we're going to work an increase into that stitch. Okay, so we can, now that we're in the loop, we can pull that loop a little tighter. And we'll just work an increase. So that's whip. 1 and 2. Okay, so that's 2 single crochets into that first one. And now into these next 2 single crochets, we just do another single crochet into those. So go into each one of those. Do 1 single crochet. Here's our last one right here. Do 1. And that's going to bring you up from 3 stitches to 4 stitches. And you want to turn it inside out a little bit so that these are pointed out like that. Okay? Next up, we are on round 3. We're going to do a single crochet into the first one. Okay, so that's not your first one. That's actually the one we just worked into. So we want to go into this one. So do a single crochet. And then we'll work an increase into the next right here. So that's 2 single crochets to the next one. So a single crochet, an increase, and then we'll repeat that again. We'll do another single crochet into this one, the next stitch. And then an increase into the last one right here. And now you can stop it. You can stop the horn here if you want, kind of just small itsy bitsy horns like that. Let's show you what that would look like. You know, if we sewed this on, it'd be like, I mean, they're not too small, but they're not bad. You know, just like little horns. You can do that, or we can make them a little bit bigger. So let's make them just a little bit bigger. So for round 4, we're going to single crochet 2. And again, we're just working in a spiral, so we're just working into the last stitches from the last round. So we go 1 single crochet and 2, and now we'll do an increase. There we go. And now we want to do 4 single crochets after our increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to do finish this up by doing a slip stitch into that last one right there. Now we can cut the yarn. You want a long enough end here so you can sew it onto the helmet. We're just going to pull this all the way through. And then you can just use this and sew this onto a helmet. Okay. If you make, remember in the beginning where I said you can work into both loops or into only a back loop? If you worked into the back loop, it makes this horn just a little bit pointier. So just so you know. I'll probably add these to this cool red helmet because that seems pretty neat to have like a red helmet with giant horns. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, so for our last part of this hoodie pattern, let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how to make a hoodie for your character. Okay, so there's just like a hoodie that you can add on that is detachable, so you don't have to have him wearing a hoodie, but it's still attached to your character. Okay, so for doing a hoodie, you're going to want to start by making the base pattern for the hood. Okay, and you want to do this before you even start crocheting your goblin. You want to make your base pattern for the hood. So just go ahead and make a base pattern for the hood, and then we're going to go ahead and make the goblin, and I'm going to stop on the goblin right before right after the round where we make the ears. Okay, so we're going to make the round where we make the ears, and then we're going to then I'll show you what I'm going to do after that. So I'm going to make a base hoodie. I'm just using the base pattern that I taught in the beginning of this pattern. Then I'm going to crochet a goblin all the way to where I make the ears, and then I'll come to this video. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to be making our hood for our little goblin guy here, and so I have finished a helmet. You want to make the base helmet part of your pattern. Now you want to add a pretty long end for sewing it onto the goblin because it's going to be unattachable because we're going to sew it on. Now I finished our goblin, and I almost finished the entire round of the ears. Okay, so I am 1 stitch away from, I think I'm on round 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I am the 1 stitch till I'm done with round 4. I'm actually going to take that out, so I'm basically 1.5 stitches from finishing round 4. And before we finish up this round, we want to, we've made our ears. We want to grab some of the same color that we've made our hood in. So that's going to be our warm brown yarn here. And we're going to do what I call a perfect stripe method. So I'm going to finish up this stitch before the end of the round here in our green. And we're going to slip stitch into the last stitch in our round 4 here with green. We're going to switch over to our brown yarn and do a chain using that brown yarn. And we're going to switch back over to our green yarn. We're going to go into the same stitch that we just made our slip stitch into, pull through with green, and then switch back over and pull through with brown. Okay? Now for the rest of our next round, we're going to be doing single crochets into each stitch around, but we want the top of our stitches to be brown and the bottom of them to be green. To do that, we're going to switch back over so that green's over top. We're going to skip this entire ear. We're going to go into the first stitch right here, pull through with our green yarn, our skin tone yarn, and then switch back over and pull through with brown yarn. And we're going to continue that all the way around. So let's continue doing that. Get a little bit extra on here. We'll switch back over so that green is over top. Go into the next stitch, pull through with green, switch back over to brown and pull through with brown. And we'll keep doing that all the way around. We want this entire round to be half green, half brown. And I'll show you what we do when we get to the end of this round. We're going to keep doing this like little shifty color change method all the way around. And I guess technically you don't really need to do this for the front of your Goblinoid. So like right here, you could do these first 8 stitches in all green if you really want to. I find it easier just to do all half brown. And then you could switch to the half brown method right here where we're going over this ear if you wanted to. Maybe you wanted to make like an open hoodie so that it wasn't like a full hoodie. It was like open and then yeah, something like that. But you want to have these half color changes so that you have an idea of where you're going to be sewing on the helmet or the hood. Okay, so we're near the end of this round. Okay. Continuing on. And you'll see this really makes like a candy cane effect on your yarn, but don't worry about that. We're just going to cut it loose anyhow. Okay, and here is going to be our last stitch before we connect it. So we'll switch back over to brown. Now we can actually cut this green yarn loose. We can come back to it when it comes down back to the arms and stuff. We can just pull that out. And we're going to close up this round by doing a slip stitch into that brown, that first brown right here. Okay, we're just going to do a slip stitch into that one. And we're going to do that same method again where we're going to chain 1 with our brown yarn. We're going to single crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And that's going to finish up this round kind of technically. I guess we basically have moved our round over a little bit. But that depends on what you're doing here. Now we're going to do an entire round of just brown stitches now, of just single crochet in brown. And I'm just going to do it all the way around to the back of it really quick. Okay, so I am just finished up the last stitch in that round. There's one more stitch right here, but we're just going to, and that's the one where we slip stitched and then chained and stuff. You can just keep single crocheting around now. You don't actually need to use the slip stitch thing anymore if you don't want to. But before we continue there on, and I normally would probably try to make the arms too, but we don't really need to do that. I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. Now we want to take our hood and we're going to place it over the ears, put it on our character. You can also add the face before you add the hood if you feel more comfortable doing that. Okay, make sure it's the right way. Yeah, that's right. Okay, there you go. Now we're going to take the long end that we've left, And we'll thread that onto a needle. Okay. And it's on the inside here. And we're going to start by going in through this last stitch, okay? We're going to come out right where the ear connects, right there. Okay. All right, now we want to connect these slip stitches. So first off, we can count 3 stitches up. So 1, 2, 3. We want to start on the 3rd slip stitch up right there. We're going to go into our piece, go out through the next stitch over on the body of your goblin. And this is just going to kind of be iffy. The good thing about using this weird brown yarn is that it's kind of hard to see where your stitches are anyhow, so it doesn't really matter if you screw it up too bad. So there's our first slip stitch. Here's our second one. We're going to go in through the loop of that second slip stitch, go into the body, out through the next part of the body. We're just going to keep doing this all the way across. Okay, so here's our next slip stitch, body, out through our next stitch right here. Oop. And now we can go into both loops of the hood right here. We're just going to keep working our way around. Actually, yeah, there we go. And we're going to go through the next part of the body. We're just going to keep sewing this onto the body so that it's connected. Okay? And that's going to be pretty much the entire point here. Okay, we're just going to go each stitch. And you can see how I'm coming out through each stitch on the body there. Now be careful, you don't want to sew these ends to continue the body. You don't want to sew those into those by accident. Okay. There we go. There we go. Next part. Now I'm on the next part of the ears. We only really do 2 stitches here, so we're just going to do 1, work into one of these slip stitches, and then the next one right here. And we'll just go ahead and go in through this last part on the ear, go in through the body. And now the great part about doing this right now, we can just continue on the body and work around this tail with our single crochet stitches so we can hide that end in and keep it tight to the top. And now it's connected, so we can take it off the ears if you want and fold it down like that. And there we go. We have a detachable hoodie that's connected to our Goblinoid. So we can continue on in the body and we can add this on at the end. You can add your face and stuff like that. And that's how you're going to add a hoodie onto your characters. You can do this with orcs, trolls, goblins, whatever you want. It doesn't really work for ogres or hobgoblins yet. I have to figure out the exact way to make that work. And of course, you can add whatever you want to this. If you wanted to add that little spiked, the spiked end that we talked about in the beginning of this video, stuff like that. You wanted to add eye holes. You still could on this hoodie, and then just sew it on. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it's been a pretty long video. I'll put links in the description. Let me know if you have any questions at all. You can just email me directly. I'm louisloops@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, thank you so much for purchasing this bundle or becoming a member or Patreon supporter. I really, really, really appreciate it. You make it me able to do any of these things. So I just appreciate it a lot. Thanks so much again for watching. Pasta la pizza and happy hooking. Bye.